Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we're going to continue looking at the July 2021 paper 2 for Econ, for CXC Economics. And so we completed number 1 and 2, and we are going to look at number 3 today. So we're going to jump into number 3 just now, but before we jump into it, you know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when Learn SKN drops number 4 and 5 and any other past paper or CXC updates that we might have. Alright, so without further ado, let's just jump into number 3 from the July 2021 CXC Economics paper. So, number 3, define each of the following terms: market structure, market failure. Market structure, market failure. And as you know, most definitions from CXC are 2 marks. So what is the market structure? Now let's just jump to our textbook to see what they say about this one. Now, in our textbook we have market structure being defined right here as the features that determine the behavior and performance of a firm in the industry. So the structure of the market is what dictates the way in which a firm operates. For example, if you're a monopoly, that means in that structure you have one seller, many buyers. The seller do what they got to do. They set their own price. They have a unique product, things like that. So it's the features that determine the behavior. So in a monopoly, it's only one seller. That's a feature right there. And so that determines that, okay, I can make my own price. Things like that, right? So market structure is defined as the features that determine the behavior and performance of firms in the industry. You could work with that one to get our nice 2 marks. And then they're asking us now, what is market failure? What is market failure? And market failure is when the market fails to allocate resources at an efficient or optimal level, right? So it's either the market is producing too much of that good or too little, but it's not the optimal amount that would really service the particular market. So if you look at our textbook, it says here, market failure is the inability of the market to allocate resources efficiently to best satisfy society's wants. Markets fail for a number of reasons, and they have them right down here that we're going to look at later on. But the main gist here is that market failure is the inability of the market to efficiently allocate the resources, right, to satisfy society's wants. Sometimes they end up doing too much, doing too little. All we know is not at an efficient, optimal level, right? So that's what we call market failure. And then the next question asking us here, identify 2 types of market structures characterized by many sellers. So market structures characterized by many sellers, and we know them. Many sellers would be monopolistic, and of course, perfectly competitive market. So you have the market structures here, and you have a nice table that outlines all of them based on those very parameters. And so you can see the ones that are characterized by many, right there, that are characterized by many sellers. And so that would be number of sellers, 1 for the monopoly. Oligopoly is few, but monopolistic and perfect competition, they have many sellers. So monopolistic and perfect competition market structures, they have many sellers. So that was B. All right, C, explain why each of the following are considered as causes of market failure. So you have externalities, you have public goods. These are examples of market failure. But why? Why are they considered? Why is the market considered failed when these things are produced? And so we have a nice outline here for these ones here that we of course are going to be looking at. So here we go. So these are the causes right here. So they're asking us about externalities and public goods. So the provision of public goods. There is a market for public goods, yet no private firms are willing to supply these goods. This is a case of a missing market, a cause of market failure. So what we're saying here really and truly is that a public good, basically it's zero priced, and you can't really make money from it. And because you cannot make money from it, firms are not going to supply it, right? They're not going to supply it. So that is left up to the government now to provide these public goods. You cannot make any money from it as a private entity, and so they just don't. Nobody going in business to fail, right? Nobody really, they're all about maximizing profit as a business. And so if there's no money to be made from goods such as, a nice park or something that, the light, the flashlight, the street light, those kind of things that everybody can enjoy without paying, that's why nobody going to provide it. The market is not going to provide it. Externalities, on the other hand, now, externalities are the spillover effect of production and consumption. When externalities are created, it means that the market is not operating as efficiently as it should. So what they're saying here, an externality, that's a spillover effect. An externality is when a third party who is not a part of a certain transaction or whatever is affected. For example, you have positive externalities, negative externalities such as pollution, that's a negative externality. A positive one would be things like, let's say, if you everybody take their shot for COVID and everybody get immune or whatever disease, get immune, then that's a positive externality. But what we're saying here is that an externality means that there's too much being produced or consumed, right? So if you have pollution, that means production isn't as it should, and so there's a spillover of wastage, smoke and whatever. There's a spillover. If you have noise pollution, somebody volume up too loud, so there's too much noise, right? So that is how we get externalities, and that is why they are a cause of market failure, because there is a spillover effect, both consumption and production, right? So there's too much being created for the most part, and so that is why you see they say the market is not producing that thing efficiently, and so you have market failure. So once you explain those, then you get your 4 marks for those two each for those concepts. Then we have D. Zero economic profit is a characteristic of a certain type of market structure. For instance, the local carrot industry sells 100 pounds of carrots at $2 per pound. The local carrot industry has many sellers and many buyers. Using the information given above, complete the diagram below by including the price and cost curves. So we want to know what is going on here. So what this is telling us about, ideally, what this is telling us is this market is the closest we can have to perfect competition. Remember we said that agriculture-based markets are the closest we have to perfect competition, or the perfectly competitive firm. And so that's what we're looking at here. And so I'm going to show you which diagram we're using to show, zero economic profits using the price and the cost curves. So let's look at the diagrams that should come to your mind when you're answering that question. So this is a firm when they're gaining profits, right? So let's look at this is the cost. The blue one is the average total cost. The red is the marginal cost, and the red horizontal one is the price or the marginal revenue or the average revenue, all in the same. This is for the perfect competition. So you know that anything up once the price is above your average total cost, you're making money, you're making good profits, because this is a price P, and it is above, right? It's above the average total cost, right there. And so, the minimum of the average total cost is above that. It's above the minimum of the average total cost. And so you're making profits. Now let's look at a loss. In this diagram now, you're making a loss. Look at where your price is. Your price is below where marginal cost and average revenue intersect. Is below it. Your average total cost is below it. So you're making a loss, because if you look at it in essence, your average total cost, so your cost of producing the goods is above your price, so you can't be making any money. But what they're asking us here for is zero economic profit. So do not mix up a loss or profit in general with zero economic profit. So the diagram on the left depicts zero economic profit for a firm in the perfect competition. So this is what you're going to be drawing, right? I don't have the equipment to really draw it, but this is what you're going to be drawing. We're looking at the average total cost, marginal cost, and the price, right? So the horizontal is the price or the average revenue. Then you have the one like a hook stick right here, marginal cost, and then you have the average total cost. The key thing that makes it zero economic profit is because they're touching right here, right? The average total cost curve and the marginal cost curve intersects right here on the price curve, right there. They're tangent to the price curve. So that means you're just making zero economic profits. No big fancy profit, just your normal profit. Your price, whatever you sell for, your volume, that's what you're making. So you sell 10 things at $10, you make $100, right? So that's the diagram we're looking at right here, where the average total cost curve is just touching the price, and that's where the minimum, see the minimum of it, touching the price. The minimum of the average total cost is just touching the price right there. Again, I next the picture of it right here, right? Your price, marginal revenue, average revenue, and the minimum of the average total cost curve is just touching the price curve. And of course, marginal cost intersects A to C at its minimum. So right there, everything converging right there on the marginal, on the price curve. And so that would be how you draw that diagram. See, our next representation right here, right? MC, A to C. This is the price one, the dotted one is the price one. And just touching right there. And that is how we depict zero economic profits, right? The key thing is that the average total cost curve and the marginal cost curve are touching the price. If it was above, there would have been a loss. If it was below, that would have been nice, fancy, good profits, right? So that's the answer for that particular part of the question. So you draw a diagram and you're good to go. All right, good. The next one now, last part of the question. Using the diagram above, explain why there is zero economic profit in local carrot industry. Why is there zero economic profit in the local carrot industry? And this one is very straightforward. So you basically have to explain the graph. Now, how do we explain it? Remember, this is how we explain it. Remember, in the perfect competition or the perfectly competitive firm, keep in mind, this could also be similar in the monopolistic, but we're looking at perfect competition here. In this system, you have many buyers and many sellers, right? Many buyers, many sellers. Now, one key thing to note is that you have low to no barriers to entry. So anybody can just go plant carrots and start selling carrots, just like that. No barriers to entry. And that is the key thing that causes zero economic profits, because here's how it goes. Let me show you the diagrams again. Right? Let me show you the diagrams again from the slide. When a firm is making good profits in the perfectly competitive firm, when everybody making money, what happens? Everybody want to follow suit. Everybody want copy. So imagine I'm making a lot of money selling carrots. People are going to see that, and because there are no barriers to entry, everybody going to start selling carrots. Everybody going to start selling carrots. Eventually what happens is that the price of carrot might go down. It ain't sweet no more. Profits start eroding, and so people start leaving, right? Some people might start making losses, and so people will start leaving that industry. Remember, there are no barriers to entry or exit. So if they realize that wait, carrots stop sell, nobody buying no carrots, then person's gonna leave the industry. And what would happen is that the industry will eventually settle. So all the strong players gonna remain, and eventually it's gonna settle on the zero economics profits. Meaning, for who left, that's just the money they're making right there. Right? So that is why firms would end up making zero economic profits, because when they're making good profit, everybody rush into the market because there are no barriers to entry. So everybody come, and then that starts to eat away at your profits. Some people are going to fall by the wayside. Some are going to make it. For those who make it in the long run, the price is going to settle at a point where you have the average total cost and the marginal cost touching the price curve. That is why they end up with zero economic profit, because people rush in when money making, erode everybody profit. Some gonna drop out. Those who step back gonna settle off, and that's gonna be the new area, right? And so this is where they explain it here on the graph. Firms will enter or exit the market until the profit is driven to zero. That's the key thing. When money making, a lot of firms gonna rush in. Eventually, they start eroding the profit until you have zero economic profit. You're just making normal profit, right? At the end of the process of entry and exit, firms that remain must be making zero economic profit. The process of entry and exit ends only when price and average total cost curves are driven to equality, right? The long run equilibrium must have firms operating at their efficient scale, right? So that's why you have zero economic profits. Firms rush in when money making, good profit. Eventually they erode it, some leave, and then eventually settle at a certain point, right? So you answer that question and you get your nice 3 marks for that one, right? And so just like that, you will have completed number 3 for the July 2021 Econ CSEC Econ paper, right? So you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when Learn SKN drops number 4, number 5, or whichever one. Alright, so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.